Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've made it. You and me, viewer, we've done it. We've made it through the sewer. What's that line from Shawshank Redemption? Andy Dufresne, the only man that crawled through a sewer through of so-and-so and came out the other side clean. But are we clean? Let's discuss it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. Get the microphones up, because it's over. It's over. It's done. As Frodo once said, it's done when the ring was thrown into Mount Doom. It is over. The fever dream has ended. We have made it. I'm alive. I'm here. And we are reliably informed. Yes, right. Reports from across the board have come out today. Mauricio Pochettino has signed his contract to become Chelsea manager. A 3-year deal as Chelsea manager that would expire in 2026. And Chelsea will take a deep breath, wipe away the season, wash away what was, as we've discussed so many times, a long time coming. Chickens coming home to roost, reaping what we've sowed. The new ownership, new infrastructure. Eggs were broken for this omelette. Mistakes were made. Teething pains, teething issues were felt and endured. And we will move forwards now with what is a talented squad that needs to be trimmed, and a coach who we put all our hopes into, who is perhaps not someone that we'd ever imagine managing Chelsea, but over time we've spoken to ourselves. Do you speak to yourself? I sometimes speak to myself. We've reflected on the fact that Chelsea probably need Pochettino. And Pochettino probably needs Chelsea to a degree. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about the players. We saw a goodbye from Ruben Loftus-Cheek, a standing ovation. Mason Mount not in the squad yet attending. We feel like maybe even as we speak, or I speak at the time of recording, he may be saying his goodbyes. Lots to get into as we reflect on moving forwards with the club and the final game at Stamford Bridge. I want to thank all of you for joining me this season and supporting the content. I thank all of you. I appreciate the continued support. Thank you for all the likes and comments. I love reading your comments. It's nice to see that you enjoy the video by liking it, and I will always welcome everyone to subscribe to this channel if you want to join the fun, and should you choose to do so, you should hit the sweet bell. The sweet, sweet bell, baby. Look, Frankie Lampard, rough. The fans sang his name at Stamford Bridge. Because of that, that's like personified why perhaps this was maybe still a good idea, despite Frank not getting, good results. It just didn't turn toxic. He can just see at the end of the season there is some positives. There's only very, 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 very few, but there's a couple. Namely, I'd say things like, Lewis Hall, of course. I think Noni Madueke. I think Sterling's found a bit of form towards the end of the season. There is positive things to talk about here, but the fans didn't turn. There's not a toxic atmosphere. The fans know they will change and there'll be a new manager, and the ownership will be happy that they managed to just navigate the end of the season, and they can do their admin work in the background. Chelsea, of course, drew with Newcastle at Stamford Bridge for their final Premier League game. 1-1, and true to form, we, of course, didn't score our goal, because we don't score goals, and that is the biggest problem that new manager Mauricio Pochettino is going to have to face, whether it was Thomas Tuchel, whether it was Graham Potter, whether it was Bruno Saltor, we hardly knew ye, or indeed Frank Lampard. Goals remained a problem for Chelsea. A lot of good approach play, moving from the middle third into the final third. No one in the box, no one wants to score goals, no one wants to take responsibility. The first opening period half of this game was terrifying. Certainly the beginning parts of the game, Azpilicueta was getting absolutely roasted. Everyone, mostly Saint-Maximin down that left-hand side, was just eating Azpilicueta. He was getting skinned. Of course, we concede a really peculiar and dumb goal to Anthony Gordon. And yes, the tradition has continued for Charity FC to bestow the first goals for players in their new clubs. I think we've done it a few times this season, and we thought, keeping true to form, we'll finish the season doing it for Anthony Gordon at Newcastle. We get a goal back in the 27th minute. We start playing a little bit of fortune. Kieran Trippier own goal. To be honest, in the second half, we actually come out and played pretty well. We had 20 shots to their 13 shots. We had 65% possession dominant. We had better pass success. We had more dribbles. We won more aerials. We won way more tackles. And we were in double digits for corners into their free. For me, that is testament to playing quite well, because a lot of the time you can have benign possession, but it doesn't do anything. But when you get a corner, it's because you're trying to get close to the goal. We can indeed get relatively close to the goal, simply cannot convert. So, Chelsea getting into double digits of corners impressed me, but then again, I'm friggin' starving. Performers in this game. Lewis Hall at left back. Remember, he's an 18-year-old central midfielder that's playing a conventional left back in a back four. As an 18-year-old, just blows my mind. Very, very good performer indeed. Noni Madueke, our probably most in-form forward, despite not being a goal scorer, but just a wild card in the final third. Still so very young, of course. Him and Lewis Hall, you know, what they 18 and 20 or 21 respectively. That's positive. And something that I do want to reference is Raheem Sterling, who had been frustrating me for 85% of the season, and that's just in the middle. And either side, I feel positively. Maybe when we first started playing under Tuchel, probably scored a couple of goals. I felt good. And indeed, these last final games, he's actually looked a little bit better. We know he wants to stay and nail his colours to the mast, commit to Chelsea and the rebuild, and maybe he can be the senior attacker. And he's only 28. He's not like old, but it will look like we'll have a very young attack moving into next season, and he can be that. He's very, very fit, he's very athletic, he can be that experienced senior attacker, I think, for Maurizio Pochettino, and I think maybe that's why Frank's been turning to him. Madueke, like I said, him and Hall were excellent. Aspi did do better in the second half. Gallagher, sort of consistent, does what he does. Chukwuemeka got his chance, looks pretty good, and Enzo Fernandez is consistently decent in what is a catastrophic side most of the time. What's testament is to Enzo Fernandez being pretty decent is he won second place, or so I'm reliably informed, for player of the season. Despite only joining in January, he still was second place to a probably deserved Thiago Silva in first place winning player of the season, which I'm not sure how proud he will be about that in terms of, you know, the kind of season it's been. But he's recently quoted Thiago Silva saying, look, I'm staying at Chelsea not for money or anything, I'm staying because I love the club and I feel the club need me in this time of transition, in this time of evolution and development, not just on the pitch but off it. And yes, we do, Thiago Silva, and you know, I'm very pleased that this player of the season could be a small token of just appreciation to you. Yes, so of course Enzo came second despite only being here for a little bit, and Kepa probably deservedly, you know, came third. Maybe even he could have been second. He individually has had his best season in terms of saves, and he's sort of quietly developing, so I've got no issue with that. The aforementioned Lewis Hall won Young Player of the Season, which there's absolutely no contest considering. So congratulations to him, well deserved, and I'm starting to think, you know, keep him in the squad. You know, he looked nailed on for a Premier League loan, but I don't know, man. He's looking pretty darn good to me. And yes, and this is where we are. We saw some goodbyes, like I said, in the 60th minute. We saw Ruben Loftus-Cheek come off for Carney Chukwuemeka, and Ruben gave Aspi a hug. he gave Enzo Fernandez a hug, and I was like, what's going on here? And then he started applauding what was a Stamford Bridge on their feet, giving him a standing ovation. Frank Lampard gave him a hug. This is Ruben Loftus-Cheek's goodbye to Chelsea Football Club. We've spoken about it at length when we speak on the Chelsea news videos. If you are interested in keeping up with the Chelsea news, of course, you must subscribe because there's daily videos. There's going to be a lot of transfer news, so you'll need to keep up, so turn on that bell when you subscribe. It will be a goodbye for Ruben. It will almost certainly be a goodbye for Captain Cesar Azpilicueta. Lovely a banner for him saying, we'll just call you legend. Obviously, we'll just call you Dave. Azpilicueta, we'll just call you Dave. We'll just call you legend. And he absolutely isn't a legend, but he is no longer required on the pitch, I think. Especially with Malo Gusto coming in, especially with Reece James returning from injury. So there we have it. That's all she wrote. You know, we saw substitute appearances from Felix, who looks pretty bright. We saw substitute appearances from Chukwuemeka, similarly pretty bright. And we saw Fofana come on. We saw Pulisic, who missed a really good chance. I think, you know, there have been reports that Pulisic is wanted by Mauricio Pochettino. Maybe. We'll have to see. But I do think there's so many players that could be gone here, man. We could loads of Cobham Academy graduates seen as pure profit to help financial fair play will be put on for sale. Of course, we're thinking Ruben Loftus-Cheek already saying his goodbyes. I imagine that move to Milan is pretty far down the line in terms of negotiations. So Ruben Loftus-Cheek could be Conor Gallagher as well, would make a few quid. You know, there's talks of Trevor Chalobah, who's 23. He's got lots of first-team Chelsea experience. Of course, he played in Liga as well over in France. He could be a money maker. And Callum Hudson-Odoi has been sort of put up for sale, though how much we'll get for him, I do not know, considering he's not been playing for Bayer Leverkusen. There'd have to be some real hipster coaches out there that reflect back to the days when Bayern Munich were willing to pay £70 million for him. You know, he's still only 22, Hudson-Odoi, by the way. So, but it will be a gamble because Chelsea will want money for him. You know, even if it's what, 10 million, 15 million pounds. But then again, you could spend 15 million pounds on Hudson-Odoi, give him the appropriate coach, and he just looks like a world beater. There was a time him and Sancho were sort of considered peers in terms of age, style, and ability. I know Sancho hasn't set the world on fire at United, but they're both very talented players. They're both gifted players, you know. So, lots to be considered to be sold. Of course, with the likes of Ziyech will go, Mendy will go. And this, you know, we move. And this is where we're at. The season is over. The fans will understand we've had a difficult time in terms of transitions, on and off pitch, ownership. I know that happened prior to this season. But it's so many growing pains and learning pains. Things like, you know, from the start, from the pre-season in America that apparently was a disaster for a multitude of reasons, all the way through to the multiple managerial changes to the ownership. As much as I've defended Bowley and his ideas and Clear Lake Capital, and I still stand by that and maintain that, they of course made many errors themselves, learning about the football culture, maybe intruding, maybe being a bit too involved. Of course, Bowley's reported to already be stepping back a bit. So there's lots of reasons to be positive for next season. You know, no European football, and that sounds like a reason to... Why is that positive? Because we're not ready to play twice a week. We're not ready to play once a week. We need so much coaching. And there's so much to be done even before the coaching in the transfer market. But yes, Pochettino signed his 3-year deal. He is the Chelsea coach. Despite only just putting pen to paper, he would have been looking very closely, writing down ideas, contacting his assistants, and everything, and ultimately preparing, working without working. He understandably didn't want anything to do with this season, and like I explained in recent videos, you don't want to announce him, lose 3 games, and then lose that excitement and positive feeling and buzz about the new manager coming in. You want that to be sustained till the first day of the season and onwards, not, oh yeah, we're getting a new gaffer, dopamine hit for the fans, and then lost. Do you know what I mean? So it makes total sense that he just sort of works in the shadows until he gets into the Chelsea tracksuit. So let me know what you guys think. Breathe the free air again, my friends. We're going to make it together, and we're going to go through this new season together, you and I look forward to doing it, and hopefully, guys, we have some positive stuff to grab onto with both hands. As always, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you all. I look forward to reading your comments, and I will see you very soon. Peace.